there, by the way. Like, and doing this, like, just enjoy wrestling for what it is. Like, you don't need to be so super critical about a student match. Or, like, if you don't like something, you don't need to badmouth and trash it. It's okay to say, I didn't enjoy it. Perfectly fine. But being negative about it, there's a difference between being negative and being like, okay, well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, especially if you're not doing it yourself. If you are just a fan giving your opinion, you should almost always start out with, I'm just a fan. I don't work, or I'm not a worker. This is my opinion. Because, you know, you don't know where they're coming from, or like you said, they were students. Their favorite wrestlers at some point were students as well. And I guarantee you they weren't as good as they are now. That takes years of working other people, working different places, you know, asking other people about their match or to watch their match and give them feedback and, you know, learning from that and trying and doing different things. And, you know, as a lot of fans don't understand that, they don't need to be giving their opinion on something that they clearly know only what they've seen on TV.
Yeah, it's craziness. But, you know, again, it's a double-edged sword. I think it comes from both sides because, I mean, we do, as wrestlers here in the United States, do try to get reactions out of the audience versus letting it come naturally.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a difference between naturally trying to get sympathy from the crowd versus trying to force them to feel bad for you because you're getting your butt kicked by the heel, you know? So.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's from both parties are responsible for the state of what wrestling kind of is right now in the States.
Well, when you decided to hang up the boots, how did the decision come about? And was it a tough one, or was it kind of easy for you?
It was easy for me. I know that sounds a bit weird, but you know, it just so like there just comes a time like I started to notice that like when I was who I was when I, you know, before I went through the curtain versus going out there, it's like that nervousness was no longer there. That excitement was no longer there. Like it was getting to a point to where, I was like, I just want to get this over with and go home. Like, the idea of getting home was more exciting for me than getting to the show. But I think, cause I'm like very comfortable talking about it now, I think a lot of that has to play with the fact that I struggle with mental health. I have PTSD. I've been diagnosed with PTSD. So it was like, it started to get kind of worse, like towards the end of my career. And so like, you know, it's just more like, I just want to get this match over with. I want to get the show over with. I just want to get to my hotel room, and then from the hotel room to the plane, to my house. So, yeah, so it was an easy decision for me because I was just like, you know what? I'm like, I would rather just walk away from this being happy with everything that I have accomplished with wrestling than to continue on and then let it make me bitter or like force me to hate wrestling, if that makes sense. So
no, that does make sense. Yeah, you don't want to get to the point to where, I mean, like you said, you already felt that you were more happy, you know, when you did get home as opposed to going to the shows or having the matches. So recognizing that and not just keep going and being like, okay, well, you know, eventually it'll come back and I'll love it again. And you're like, no, I understand where I am in life. And, you know, obviously your mental health is far more important than, you know, going out there and entertaining people the way you were. So I'm glad that you chose that as opposed to just continue to do it and, you know, hoping that it would get better.
Oh yeah. And it's like, you know, and then, you know, last year I obviously came back and did a couple of shows, but it was just really like, I kind of wanted to see, like, what everyone was talking about, saying, oh, all wrestlers that retire get this itch and they want to come back. And I was like, okay. And then after the Katsuni Pro show, I asked myself, I'm like, did I have the itch, or did I let people convince me that I had the itch to come back? And I said, I think it was more so I let people convince me that I still had the itch to come back and wrestle, because they were like, you still have enough left in the tank. Like, I think you have so much more to give. And it was just kind of like, I don't, because I've accomplished everything on my list. I don't have any more goals to chase that I personally want to pursue. Like, I'm happy with everything that I've been able to do. And, like, I don't regret any of my decisions. So, yeah, that's like, it was easy to retire, but it was easy to go back into retirement.
Right.
But yeah.
Now, so obviously you talked about your mental health. What kind of mental health kind of routine do you kind of have right now to kind of help yourself and get yourself in a better place?
So I do take a lot of time for myself. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm a hermit crab. That I don't leave my cave unless I absolutely have to. I like to write, and I do a lot of reading. And if something like catches my interest and curiosity, then I tend to healthy obsess over it, not negative, but healthy obsess over it and learn more about it. Like right now, because of all the crazy stuff that's been happening, not that I'm not a conspiracy theorist by no means, but I just think some of the stuff that's been happening as of lately is very interesting. So, I've been reading a lot about Antarctica, crazy enough.
Okay.
And like ancient, like Egyptian civilizations and like the culture and stuff. And, I play video games, obviously.
Yes.
So.
Well, you're also a big anime person. If someone was curious about anime, but they haven't gotten into it, where would you recommend they kind of start?
Honestly, like, I don't base my recommendations off of what I like. It's more so what they're interested in, because if they're like, well, I like romantic stuff, like cutesy stuff, I'm not gonna like recommend them Berserk. You know what I mean? Even though Berserk is like one of my absolute favorite like mangas and anime. So it depends on what they like, and then I go from there with my recommendations.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I always kind of wondered if there was like some, not BuzzFeed article, but if there was some kind of like test, like, or like quiz like that you can kind of go through and be like, okay, you like this, and this, you should probably start on this anime, because there's so much out there that people could jump into and either not be into it, or, I mean, obviously they could be into something that they didn't realize they were into. And, you know, I've always been interested in anime, and I watched it a little bit when I was younger, but I just never kept up with it. And then it just absolutely blew up to a realm that I was like, I don't know where to jump in, so I'm just going to enjoy it from afar and that sense. So I've always been curious if somebody has made some kind of like quiz to be like, okay, you like all this, go watch this anime, and if you like this, maybe you should try this out.
Well, I mean, again, it's preference. Like, I mean, I've had people suggest things to me, and then I go and I see it or watch it or read it or whatever, and I'm like, this was a trash suggestion. Like, you know, especially like, and I learned that too, to ask questions about like preferences, because I used to work at GameStop, and you would always have people who came in that were like, oh, we're thinking about getting into video games. Like, what video game would you recommend? You know, and like, even like on my days off, if I would go into like video game stores and stuff, it was like, they'd be like, oh, well, what do you like? And I'm like, well, I like MMOs and role-playing games. And then they would suggest Call of Duty. I'm like, Call of Duty's not a role-playing game. Like, why are you suggesting this to me? You know what I mean? So like, so like when people are like, oh, I'm thinking about getting into anime, what should I start with first? I'm like, well, first of all, I'm like, just letting you know that all of the good anime are gonna have 1,000+ episodes.
Right.
Just letting you know that right now. So if you're gonna invest, definitely invest in one, and then branch off from there. Because usually, what I've noticed about Crunchyroll and stuff is once you watch one, then your For You suggestion page starts suggesting similar stuff. Like I was obsessed with like sports animes for like a few months, and then all of a sudden my For You had like a crap ton of sports anime suggestions, and I just went down the rabbit hole with that.
So what animes are you watching right now?
Well, I mean, I've already read ahead in the Jujutsu Kaisen manga, so I'm caught up on that, but I'm going back and I'm watching the episodes just because it's like, I already was like in awe at how cool it was drawn in the manga, but like to see the fights actually animated, I was like, oh my god, like Nappa went ham with the Sukuna and Maharaga fight, and I was like, this right here, amazing. So, there's that, and then there's like this like weird dragons anime that I'm watching right now where like, I don't know if the guy is an actual dragon or if he's just a person that like has dragon abilities, but I kind of listen to that in the background while I'm doing other stuff.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what video games are you into right now?
So I still play Elder Scrolls Online. Like I'll log on and do raids with my teams. But I've been heavily into like the Souls games. Like I think Dark Souls 2 is probably the last one in the franchise that I'm slowly trying to get through right now. Like because everybody like, oh, you're playing Souls games? Cool. Dark Souls 2 is awesome. It was like hit or miss. People were like, either it sucks or it's awesome. I was like, okay. And then, I ended up listening to some of my friends that like, I was like, okay, like they know me and they were like, dude, play Dark Souls, DS3 and the other games and then go to Dark Souls 2. Trust me. And like, so I've been like, I picked up Dark Souls 2 and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is dumb. But I'm gonna play it because, you know, like, it's a Dark Souls game. So I'm playing through that. I haven't beaten Lords of the Fallen yet. I'm almost done with that. And then, I picked up Black Desert Online, so I'm slowly grinding in that. And then I have a, like, non-sweaty game, which is like Story of Seasons, which is like a farming simulator game. So I've been playing that to like break up the monotony of all of these like intense hardcore games. So.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you said, when you got out of the world of pro wrestling, you went, ham on the food and the staying at home and, the video games. What does your kind of workout routine look like now, as obviously compared to when you were an active competitor?
Yeah, it's more so maintenance. Just kind of not necessarily staying in tip-top shape, but like also staying away, just being active, like not sedentary all the time. Mainly too because like my knees, like I got to keep up on like my knee regimen to keep my knees strong. So it's, I'd say, more so just maintenance, like light weights and stuff, more reps. It's just depending on how I feel. If I wake up and I'm like, do I feel like working out today? Maybe.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I kind of I struggle with that, but once I'm done, I never regret a workout. So I've always enjoyed that.
I mean, it's like, it's more so maintenance now. I mean, then it was like there was a purpose to like going to the gym and stuff, right? Because I gotta make sure my cardio is up and, make sure like, I'm able to pick somebody up that's, and safely put them back down, So, now it's just more so just staying healthy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, if someone has never seen you wrestle before, what would 3 matches be that you recommend they watch?